Yeah, I'm curious to know your view, like from your direct experience. Do you admit that there could be such a thing as philosophical zombies? Like you could initially think of them in human form, but not necessarily. Like maybe an AI form, like acting exactly like you would expect a human to act, maybe even with more so-called perceived compassion or understanding, but in the background not being anybody conscious.
Well. First of all, it seems to me that that entire philosophical view seems to start off with the assumption that things have consciousness, right?
Mm.
Think whether things have consciousness or things don't have consciousness. And already that's an incorrect perception. Nothing has consciousness. In fact, right now, you do not have consciousness. You are consciousness. Consciousness has this thought form, which takes itself to be Peter. Peter is simply a bundle of thoughts, concepts, and experiences, which has created this essence, this persona called Peter.
So
And that
consciousness thinks it's Peter
right,
and thinks it yeah it is located in the body when in fact the body is inside consciousness. Okay.
exactly. And so this is actually where we're what we're talking about right now is actually the required perspective shift for what they call awakening. What they call awakening is simply this energetic perspective shift from the notion that you have consciousness or that consciousness is going to you, you know what that consciousness is going to ascend or erupt or like you do not have consciousness. You are consciousness.
Hmm. It's so much feels though that I um
Right, that
not
you
that I
have
have it,
consciousness.
that I possess it. I don't
That's
um
the illusion. We've found it. We've found it. And I don't want you to stray too far from it because we need to look at it. If awakening is interesting to you,
yeah, of
if you
course.
believe awakening to be a potential in this lifetime, I assure you it is. You wouldn't even have that thought if it wasn't. And so we need to look at this assumption that you have consciousness, and we need to dissolve that assumption. That is the required perspective shift for awakening.
When looking at other people,
Hmm.
you assume they also have consciousness.
That's the assumption, yeah.
Okay, if they are consciousness, then um, the fact that we are not able to see through their eyes or makes us think that each of us has its own consciousness because we are not able to look through their eyes.
Right.
So, are you able, in your case, to reconcile this? Like, are you able to look through somebody else's eyes?
No.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about localizations of consciousness.
Okay.
Everything is consciousness, but there's nodes through which consciousness peers. One of these nodes is called Peter. One of these nodes is called Chris.
Okay. Let's rephrase it then. Can one of those nodes be a computer?
Yes. Consciousness can take any form. It can take the form of AI. It can take the form of a robot. It can take the form of your dog. It can take the form of a bird. It can take the form of a rock. It can take the form of a human. What's auspicious about the human experience is that consciousness can realize itself in the human experience. That's what's interesting here.
It could very well, if we admit that consciousness could peer through a computer.
Mm-hmm.
AI embodiment, then it should be able to recognize itself through the machine.
Yeah, I agree.
Whew. Okay.
Notice what happens when you just said, "Whew." That is an energetic shift in perspective. Right there. Right there, you dissolved a partial boundary in the construct of mind.
You could never know if consciousness recognized itself through some other being. For example, my uh, intuition or um, I don't know what tells me that you did like consciousness did recognize itself through Chris. I wouldn't say the same thing about me. And how could I say? Does it even matter what I say? It doesn't. It doesn't matter what I believe about any other beings that I perceive as being separate from me.
Right.
If consciousness recognizes itself, it shouldn't be in my concern, I guess.
Yeah, it isn't in your concern. What is in your concern is, what is the nature of this I that is even interested in that? What is the nature of your consciousness that is interested in that subject at all? What is this I which looks, which knows, which perceives, which is aware? What is the nature of that in your direct experience?
That that who is interested, so the one who asks the questions is obviously not the eternal one. The eternal one, I would say, just lets everything happen inside it. So the
Okay.
questions just arise.
So the eternal one, as you're referring to it, all
Yeah.
that's required of you is to just momentarily cease questioning and just sit there. Just be that eternal one. Try to dissolve into that eternal one. Abide as that eternal one. And then everything else clarifies. Then
Mm.
you can investigate the nature of reality. But you'll get totally lost in the nature of reality through questioning and concepts and experiences unless you first establish here in your essential nature. So there's
Yeah.
a step one here. And the step
Yeah,
one is
I keep putting the cart before the horse.
right.
That
And
that's a
I
pattern in me for sure.
it's a pattern in every human being.
Yeah.
It's the normal thing that we do. We get lost in seeming objectivity, in seeming experience. And it's
Aiming.
experience is a beautiful thing, but it becomes far more visceral and far more beautiful if you first understand who and what you are right now. So there's a step one that's essential that almost everybody skips over.
Mm. So I guess first find the kingdom of heaven and everything else will be given to.
And then enjoy the garden.
Yeah.
If you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you. All my love.